Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief. There has been a lot of chatter and conversation recently around AGI and superintelligence and the rate of change and how everything is speeding up. And of course, right now, the annual World Economic Forum at Davos is happening, which, if nothing else, is a good chance to see how many leading figures from the business and political world think about the world in this moment. Earlier this week, the Wall Street Journal had a conversation with Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei. It was a wide-ranging conversation that included both some nuggets about where Anthropic was and where they were headed, as well as some questions about these larger issues. For this episode, we're going to dig into some of the most interesting comments from that conversation and how they're being perceived. Now, to kick off, let's talk about some of the little details we got from the conversation that are more on the business side for Claude. Interviewer Joanna Stern desperately tried to pull out some information around when new models would be coming out, with little success. One of the features she asked about was web access, which Dario said would be coming, quote, relatively soon. He also discussed a two-way voice mode that would, quote, come eventually. Interestingly, when Stern asked Amodei about photo and video generation, he said that they were explicitly not on the roadmap. Effectively, he said that Anthropic did not see those as crucial features for enterprise users, that instead those were features focused on consumers, and that, quote, the majority of our business is enterprise-focused, so often enterprise-focused things get prioritized first. This makes sense when you look at the market share change of Anthropic relative to their competitors when it comes to LLMs in the enterprise. Whereas between 2023 and 2024, OpenAI saw a 16% decrease in their market share in the enterprise, Anthropic saw a doubling of their market share from 12% to 24%. Now, it's interesting that they are being so explicit that they do not see photo and video generation as key for enterprise, but this also may just be reflective of the fact that even a well-financed startup like Anthropic can't go after everything all at once. Now, the thing that Stern and the Wall Street Journal were maybe most interested in was whether Anthropic would be releasing a more advanced model sometime in the coming months. His answer was yes, and the only timescale he would give was within the next 6 months. When it came to questions of Anthropic's tight usage limits, which has been a frequent complaint on Twitter, he basically said that they're working hard to address resource constraints, but that right now, getting access to compute involves waiting lists, and it's really just a tricky, difficult thing. He also said that revenue had grown 10x over the last year to close to $1 billion and that that's not slowing down. The next conversation was one about agents. Dario took the chance to try to reframe the conversation a little bit. He referred to Anthropic's forthcoming agents as, quote, virtual collaborators, saying, the thing we have in mind is a model that is able to do anything on a computer screen that a virtual human could do, and you talk to it and give it a task. Maybe it's a task it does over a day. You say, we're going to implement a product feature, and it writes code, tests, deploys that code, talking to coworkers, writing Slack, sending emails. Just like a human, the model goes off and does a bunch of things and checks in with you once in a while. Now, I understand why people who have been in this space for a long time sometimes bristle at the overuse and overhype around the term agents. I also think that this is just frankly a losing argument. Agents to people right now mean AI that does stuff for me without me. They're not considering degrees of autonomy and technical nuance. And I think trying to get people to use a different set of terms or a more nuanced set of terms is just a losing battle. In any case, even the virtual collaborators version of agents in Amodei's estimation could imply job replacement, which was something he was asked about as well. Dario noted that every time machines end up automating 90% of a certain time of work, human workers are able to leverage the most crucial 10% for huge efficiency gains. He also discussed the difference between deploying enterprise AI in a replacement mode versus a complementary mode. Amodei referenced research that suggested complementary AI deployment leads to greater productivity gains. And this, of course, leads to that language of virtual collaborator. I've talked about this a lot before, and I will continue to talk about it. I think it is inevitable that corporations are going to be looking and asking how agents can replace entire categories of tasks, which could impact jobs. But I also think that there's going to be significant social pressure and a new forming of norms that's going to put a lot of pressure on those companies to think in this sort of complementary way rather than in pure replacement terms. Then the interview got into the big questions. Amodei said that he still believes that AGI will arrive by 2027 or slightly after that, just 2 years from now. And thinking about the sociological implications, he acknowledged that AGI is likely to require a reorganization of the economy. He said, the only good thing about it is that we'll all be in the same boat. I'm actually afraid of the world where 30% of human labor becomes fully automated by AI. That's going to cause this incredible class war between the groups that have been replaced and those that haven't. If we're all in the same boat, it's not going to be easy, but I actually feel better about it. We're going to have to sit down and recognize that we've reached the point as a technological civilization that there's huge abundance and huge economic value. But the idea that the way to distribute that value is for humans to produce economic labor is invalidated. Another thing that you probably heard me speak about quite a bit is the idea of a renegotiation of the social contract, and this is just further evidence and a different articulation of exactly that idea. In a separate interview also at Davos, he said, "I've never been more confident that we're close to powerful AI systems. What I've seen inside Anthropic and out of that over the last few months led me to believe that we're on track for human-level systems that surpass humans in every task within 2 to 3 years." This is nothing new, but it's important to repeat because it brings up questions, as Johnny Miller here asks. Sincere question: how, if at all, are you considering adjusting your life trajectory based on this? Punchbowl technology reporter Ben Brody writes, "However much this is hype, however long the timeline actually ends up being, this is by far the most disruptive thing on the horizon of our lives, and I say that as a reporter in Trump's DC." Now, I won't get too much into it, but he was also asked about the new administration, and effectively he deflected, saying that Anthropic is a policy actor but not a political actor, and making it clear that the types of issues that they care about are things like the race with China. Although he acknowledges that it's really tricky. He said, "Having a lead on China, which is becoming increasingly difficult, gives us the buffer to take care of the risk of our own models. If we have that lead, we're in this catch-22 where if you slow down 3 months to mitigate the risk of our own models, then China will overtake us. We don't want to end up in that situation in the first place." You might remember that he recently co-authored an article in the Wall Street Journal called "Trump Can Keep America's AI Advantage," that's all about the need to continue to support and even expand the export controls that went into effect under Biden. All in all, I share this interview because it is once again a leader of one of the frontier labs in the best position to actually know, saying that we are just a couple years out from a massive structural shift in our economy. The time to start thinking about those implications and preparing is, if not yesterday, then certainly today, and I'm glad to be a part of your journey to do just that. For now, that is going to do it for today's AI Daily Brief. Until next time, peace.